All right, you guys, so here we go. This is the title of today's story. Please make sure you're not doing anything else. All right, please listen. I know it's tempting to just get ready for other classes and whatnot, but please listen to what I'm saying. All right, Gavin and Aiden. All right, if anybody else is doing anything else. What's up, man?
Does this tie into the story from yesterday?
Yep, this is exactly where we're going to leave off from yesterday, okay? So this is what you guys saw. You guys saw a picture like this yesterday. You guys saw the death of the man of the house. You guys witnessed whatever you guys are watching back there, Shiloh, and whatever you guys are watching, please lock in with me. You know you like locking in with this stuff. You know you do. All right, trust that part, not the other part that just wants to focus on something else. I get that part too, don't worry. But here we go. Y'all saw this yesterday. Horrible. In the throne room, the death of the man of the house and his woman. All right, being vague about that in terms because this picture is going to come back later. Because that's where I left it for you guys. You guys saw not only Clytemnestra, the wife of Agamemnon, be a part of this murder, but you saw her new lover, Thyestes' son, Aegisthus, do this with her. Now, this is interesting, because what had Thyestes, Aegisthus' dad, done to Atreus? Do you guys remember? No. Thyestes, that made Atreus mad, Thyestes did what to make Atreus mad? Do you guys remember? Why did Atreus kill his children and feed them to Thyestes?
Because he was lusting over his wife.
Very good. He had an affair with another man's wife. With his brother's wife. Guys, have y'all realized that Aegisthus has done the exact same thing as his father? He has now had an affair with another man's wife while he was gone. So he is his father. Right, Miles? What you watching, dude? Watching good golf? That's what usually the dudes watch. Right? Sick. Why would you do that? Why? Blows my mind in class. All right, so here we go. Yeah, Miles, you're off the team, dude. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so here we go. This is what we witnessed, and this is where I stopped yesterday. So yes, Vince, we're picking right up, right there. All right? The conversation for us, I love the conversations that leave open-ended questions because they make you think more and more and more. The thinking stops when an answer is found. And where I left it for you guys to ponder on your own was Clytemnestra right to do what she did? Because what had Agamemnon done? Agamemnon had cheated on her and killed his daughter. Not just killed, sacrificed her so that he could go and be glorious in battle. Used her as a tool for his own glory. But here's the thing. Clytemnestra had an affair while he was gone. And the affair was driven by revenge. And so she killed him, and she now stands confident, having dwelled on it for years. Almost 11 years. She killed him thinking, I did what was right. So keep that Bonhoeffer story at the tip of your brain, at the tip of your mythological mind. Because remember, he believed that the death of a person was correct as well. And he died for that cause. So here we go. Iphigenia was not Clytemnestra's only daughter. Agamemnon and Clytemnestra's only daughter. Iphigenia had two other siblings. She had a brother, an older brother named Orestes. That's why the title of the story is Orestes. And Electra. Electra was her sister. So it was Iphigenia, Orestes, and Electra. Now, I need to tell you something, give you guys a little backstory. As Clytemnestra was festering with revenge and hatred and anger towards her husband, she had this weird haunting feeling, very Macbeth-esque. I don't trust either of my children. I don't trust this next generation. And she had to make a decision. How do I deal with this distrust? How do I deal with this fear of mine. And so what she did was she sent Orestes away. She saw in Orestes this like righteousness that would have gotten in the way of her revenge. And you guys know what I mean. There are people or ideas, maybe movies or books or themes in whatever kind of entity in your life that you feel kind of block you from really, like I know that way too well. I have gotten rid of so many things with like half of myself, like unknowingly to the other half, because I want to like have an excuse once that thing is gone. Just be like, oh, here I go. I can do my thing now. Like that's what Orestes was to her. This presence of some deep-rooted righteousness that would have kept her from desiring revenge enough. So she had to get rid of him. And then Electra had her own problem. Here she is. She's kind of the focus of today. Kind of. Half of it. She's just a very significant figure is what I'm trying to say. She loved her father. A lot. She loved her father. And so instead of sending her away too, she actually said, I want to keep Electra here so that she can like sponge, absorb the amount of hatred I have for her father. I want to change Electra's opinion. So she kept Electra close. Get rid of the righteous impeding figure and bring forth the one, if I can win over, it will honestly make my revenge all the more sweet. Ooh. Bro, this story's bonkers. But here's the thing, as you guys can see here, John William Waterhouse is like one of my favorite painters. If you want to look at all of his paintings, it's freaking dope. And one of his favorite things to paint are scenes from myths. Yeah, it's going to happen. But this is, as you guys can tell, how's Electra doing? She having a great time? No, dude. She's been at home for 10 years now, forced to stay home with her mother, who is cheating on her dad. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Clytemnestra's perspective is just so perverted that she thinks somehow the wrong that her husband has done, Electra's dad has done, is so much worse than what she is currently doing that she honestly sees no fault in it anymore. We have all done that, dude. We've looked at so many other people's issues and said, thank God those aren't mine. I can like look at that and just be like, man, I'm so lucky. Like the number one thing today is homosexuality. It's the number one thing in Christian terms. We're at a Christian institution, so obviously it's not the same for everybody, but in a Christian school like this, it's the number one thing. As long as I'm not gay, my sexuality is in the right place. It's like truly what it's become. As long as I am straight, at least I'm not gay. Like I can struggle with some straightness, but way worse would be gayness. You guys know what I mean. We have scapegoated a certain kind of sexuality. We've put all wrongness of sexuality onto one people group, and we've lumped them into one reality simply because it's not like us. Now, guys, don't get me wrong. I do not believe that sexuality is okay. I do not believe it because I believe this. Not a single person's sexuality is okay. Nobody's sexuality is okay. None. And that's what nobody wants to say, because everybody wants to feel good about what feels good. And you feel best when you can deem what's worst. That's my take. I do not believe homosexuality is okay. I think there is an ideal image of pure unity in sexuality. I believe in that, and I believe that God gives us a beautiful picture of it throughout the entirety of Scripture. But I don't think any of us here on this side of heaven are going to find that very easy. That's why sexuality is the hardest thing ever. That's why temptation hits it the hardest. Addiction hits it the hardest. It's in your blood, dude. It's who you are, is a desire to unite. And if the devil can rip that desire up, he's doing a great job. So, it's that idea. I know that's a big, big conversation, but that's what this reminds me of. If we can just put all the wrong onto one person or people group, our wrongness all of a sudden doesn't feel as bad. Okay? And that's what she did, but Electra cannot shake it. Because now she's just watching her mother dig down deep into her own unrighteousness and be blind to it. And so she starts to hate her mother. Hate her mother. And she starts to love her father all the more in death. Her dad is dead. You all remember where the story ended yesterday?
His dad died.
Her dad, yeah. Her dad died at the hands of her mom. And she was not on the side of her mom. She was forced to be there, but she was never on the side of her mom. And then, because they have now culminated this whole thing, Agamemnon and his affair mistress lover have been killed. This horrific family murdering husband, what's up? This horrific family murdering husband has been taken care of, and Clytemnestra, like I told you guys yesterday, thinks that righteousness has now been brought back to the house of Atreus. It has not. Electra hates her mother. And Orestes has been invited back home. The son has been invited back home. Now, this is what's interesting. And this is where the Bonhoeffer story really hits. He was called by God to return. The son is returning home. Not at his own will, but at the will of God. And guess what God tells him to do? Kill your mom. Now, this is interesting. Why did Agamemnon kill Iphigenia? Who told him to kill Iphigenia? Who? Which one? God did, you're right. Which God? Artemis, because he had done what? He had killed a deer. Artemis. Can you guys guess? It's not Artemis. But come on, this is so perfectly paralleled. Can you guys guess which god told Orestes to kill his mother? You know that Artemis has a twin? Apollo. Isn't that wild? Equal, yet opposite. I love it. Apollo told Orestes, return home. Your father has been murdered. Your house is stained with unrighteous blood, and you need to cleanse it with righteous blood. You need to kill your mother. And just like his dad before him, he was compelled by the will of prophecy and fate, which is what Apollo represents, to do what he's called to do, no matter how horrific and hard. And so he goes home, and he actually meets somebody. All right, and he disguises himself because obviously Apollo has told him, hey, guess what? Your kingdom back home is disgusting. There is unrighteous blood all over the walls. So he goes home and he's like, I can't go home looking like the actual son of the king. I've got to go home in disguise. So he covers himself with shrouds and a cane, and he dirties his face and he grows out his hair so that nobody can see him. He wears a cap. Looks like a beggar. Looks like the lowliest of the low. And then the first place he goes to is the tomb where his dad was buried. And he goes there to remember his father. And guess what he offers at the tomb? Bread and wine. And he gives it to the tomb of his dad. And he apologizes to his dad for all the horror that has happened to him and that he wasn't here when it happened. So he pours out the libation, and as he's pouring out the libation, someone walks up. And he kind of gets really scared because he's not supposed to be known to have come back. He didn't tell anybody that he was coming back. Because obviously this place is like a haunted house. And it's his sister. It's Electra. She was coming to give a libation to the Father as well. Dude, come on. Come on. Guys, hold on. Pause for 1 second. Y'all know what we're doing at chapel today?
Communion.
Really sit in it. Really sit in it. It's a sacrament. Sacramentus. A holiness of mind. Think about what you're doing. And if you're not a Christian, do not do it. Do not do it. It's more than just a rote thing that America has kind of turned it into to do once a month or something. Do not take part in this communion if you do not believe that Jesus is the sustenance, the purity, and the joy of all eternity. Because that's what the bread and the wine represents. Are we Gucci on that? Don't mess with communion. Do not mess with it. And they're offering a weird sort of communion with their dead father. And that's where they unite. Communion. It's freaking bonkers, dude. And he says, hey, I'm Orestes. And she's like, whoa. And she's like, you gotta kill Mom. And he's like, I know. I literally have been commanded by God to kill Mom. And he's really, really wrestling. But then we have this Macbethian-esque scene where she is so convinced of what to do. She has to convince any of Orestes' spiritual, mental, emotional doubts. She has to get rid of those. And she does. And so he goes into the court, and he does not look like Orestes. He finds Clytemnestra and he finds Aegisthus. And this is actually, the picture I showed you earlier, this is actually it. Obviously, I did that for the parallel of what had happened at the end of last story. This is Orestes killing Aegisthus. Now, here's what's interesting. He killed Aegisthus first. And Clytemnestra has this fleeting moment to register what's happening. This is my son. The son has returned. He has come home and he is cleansing the kingdom. But surely he will not kill me, his mother. No way. Like, guys, this is such a revelation scene. Surely he won't. But he does. And Electra is over the moon with it. Over the moon with it. Some of the citizens of the city-state are also incredibly glad that this usurping, evil, blind to their own unrighteousness couple are no longer the king and queen. But Orestes, all of a sudden, becomes terrified at what he's done. And this is where, for me, the story shifts in a righteous direction. Is that he bears not only a taboo of murdering a mother, he never did it out of his own desire for anything for himself. This is the only time in the story that it happens like that. He never did it out of any desire for himself. He did it by the will of God. And then after he did it, this is the thing that's most striking to me. The horror of what he's done consumes him. Horror. So much so that he exiles himself. So we have the same theme as the Oedipus story. He flees. And this is where we're going to pick up tomorrow. I'm going to be done with the story after this little bit. he's not fleeing just because he's scared. He's fleeing because all unrighteousness now rests on him. This entire story of all the evil of all of this family has now culminated in what he has done. He did it. So he is responsible for all of a sudden, all of it. All of this cursed family now rests on what he's done. And that means that he's not just going to be physically terrified as a person, he will now be hunted by the Furies. They are the supernatural judge system to cleanse taboo. All right? And the Furies are eternal. They will always hunt taboo crime. All right? So, that's where I'll stop today. We'll talk about his Judgment Day tomorrow. All right?